Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Present and Powerful podcast. I am so excited because I am taking over for Lyndsey today to reverse the tables, and I'm going to be interviewing my favorite business bestie, Lyndsey Akers. What's like the tagline again?
Well, I am 99% sure that you're the person who determined the name of this
I know I
podcast when
can't
you made the
remember right now.
logo.
Tell me, tell it to me again. I can't even remember my kids' names.
Welcome, welcome to the Present and Powerful podcast.
Present and Powerful. Okay, that's it. Got it.
Monica was the founder of the podcast. She just gave it to me. That's all.
It's going to be a really, really exciting one. And I'm so excited to dive in because the story of Lyndsey is very powerful. And we love our girl and we love all that she does. But now let's peel back some layers and talk about how she became the fabulous Lyndsey Akers that we all know. So, hey,
What? See,
Lyndsey.
I knew you'd be perfect for this job, Monica. I knew you'd be perfect for it because as we were talking, I feel like whenever we get our mics out and we prepare for our podcast, we kind of sometimes we shed our personality, but you and I have known each other for, oh my gosh, Monica, we're about to hit 5 years. I think we're about to hit 5 years.
It is pretty
And
insane. 5 years have gone by, and it's been like 5 years of magic, tears, joy, excitement. I don't know, all the above.
yeah, and I think what's really special about having you on the show is like we met each other at such a pivotal moment in both of our individual lives. And 5 years ago, we were on we had just put on our seat belts at the roller coaster. We were like, all right, entrepreneurship, let's see what this is like. And then we met each other. And I'm so honored, thrilled, and I will not get overly emotional about it, but I'm so thankful that we found each other on LinkedIn and we've done business together. We do life together. And now we kind of are looking at the what's next together.
Yes.
But long story short, I'm just thankful for you. And there's no other person I could imagine interviewing me for how Lyndsey does it. What does Lyndsey do? What is her, how did her business start? What's going on in her family life? Is she as crazy as she looks?
Oh my gosh,
Probably.
no way. She's like the sweet Southern belle that has some really great sweet tea at her house. So
Come over for barbecue, sweet tea, and then maybe some margaritas, y'all.
that works too. I love that. But really fast, I just want to say the feeling is so mutual. You have no idea. I mean, you do have an idea
I
because
do.
you've
I
been
do.
with me through it all, especially just really getting Spousely off the ground and where we're at today. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything because you really are the reason that I stepped into my own power. And I know that you've done that not only for myself, but so many others. And that truly is the Lyndsey magic. And we're going to dive a bit into that, not even a bit. We're going to go real deep, actually. We're going to get really into it. So that way, everybody listening knows your why, knows how powerful you are, and how you really want to help more women, especially, be present and powerful. So it's such a really great name for the podcast, great just storyline, everything that you do. But there's one thing that I want to mention that I thought was funny about the roller coaster piece, because I totally feel like we were both in the single rider line. It's like you just go on the roller coaster as a single rider, and then we got paired together, and
We
then
were on the front row together. We got seat 1 and 2 right beside
yes.
each other.
So that's such a great way to look at it. And I absolutely love that. So for anybody listening, find yourself a business bestie. You're never alone. Always, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And let's dive into how our story came about. And let's just talk more about who Lyndsey is. Lyndsey, let's start all the way back. Tell me about younger version Lyndsey. Tell me.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I grew up in, small town America, USA. Very much a small town. We had a single caution light. I feel like no matter what I was doing as a kid or what I aspired to be, being the eldest daughter, we have our life planned before us. We know where we're going and how to get there, and we're ready, we're ambitious. And that was very much me. I will never forget the day in eighth grade where they're like, all right, this is career day or this is job shadowing day. You go find someone to job shadow that aligns with the future that you want to have professionally. And I always knew that I wanted to be a connector, a storyteller. And for me, I think that came up as like, I'm going to be a journalist or a reporter or a magazine editor. Or I'm going to tie in my love for sports and I'm going to be Bryce Harper. Bryce, do you know who that is,
I
Monica?
don't know who that is.
No. Okay.
Yeah. I'm so
The
not
older
in
I
the
got.
sports world, but it sounds like somebody. I just laugh because I'm like, I can only picture who this person is.
Uh-huh. Yes. I
Yeah.
mean, pick someone's you would thrive on a red carpet no matter what you were doing. I wanted to do PR for like a professional sports team or a professional athlete and be the person behind the scenes making putting their name in lights and telling their story. And so in 8th grade, our job shadowing day, I was like, all right, well, this small little town has very few opportunities for me to do that. So I'm going to job shadow the reporter for my local news. And that was the day that I was like, okay, this guy is telling stories. He's going to this press conference. He is highlighting the small business down the road. And then I'll never forget that day there was some type of like, I don't want to say altercation, but like something breaking news happening
Yeah.
in my small town. And he gets in his like 95 Ford Taurus and we're like, we're going to the scene. And that was kind of my start into like,
You got to just jump right in the action.
yeah. And it was really cool. I don't know if he had permission to like put me in his car and take me speed off to a scene,
Yeah.
but it was definitely the day that I was like, oh, so there are two sides of the story. There's a person who is the heart of the story, and then there's the person telling it.
Yeah.
And then there's the person behind the scenes, like really making sure that that person's vision and legacy and true authentic story is being connected to people who care about that. And that is how I view PR in a nutshell. Started when I was in 8th grade, and whenever I left for college, I moved and went to school in Charleston, South Carolina. And again, just elder daughter, very much so, was like, all right, what internships can I have? What connections can I make? So on and so forth. So, Monica, in my junior and senior year, I interned for both two minor league sports teams and then met the love of my life, a strapping young airman who immediately whisked me away. And I was like, oh no, now I'm going to get stationed at Minot or pick another Air Force base that is not in a big city. And those dreams are going to go away of doing what I love. And so, all that to say, my life has always been rooted in communications and telling stories and being someone who can, I don't know, you and I are both like glass half full type people.
Yeah.
And we really love finding the good, showcasing the great, and really highlighting people for who they are and the impacts that they make. And that is my job. I get to take the Monica Fullertons of the world and say, look at the incredible thing that she's doing for a community that really matters. But I also get to work and have had the joy of working with you and other people who have incredible talents, who are doing this for the right reasons. We align in our values, and it's so much more meaningful when you can do that for someone who is truly making a difference. And yes, it's a business and there's bottom line and there's P&L and all of this, but like at the end of the day, what I get to do is I get to help people build and create and leave a lasting legacy. And for me, that looks like helping military spouse entrepreneurs share their story, amplify their business, and be able to make a difference for their families.
Yeah.
And even further, helping women like me and you who are building incredible businesses, who are growing families, who are making impacts, and hoping to show people, especially through this podcast, that like, if you are scared about becoming a mom because you're worried about what it's going to do to your career, or if you don't see that there's a possibility that you can have a life that is your definition of success or is aligned and rooted in your values, look at the women on this podcast. Look at the women who are charting courses and pathways and trailblazing paths because they do deeply care about giving their life and their family exactly what they have hoped for and dreamed for their entire life, while also being successful business owners, while also making a difference in their community by doing good work and hopefully not making your life 100% about work and enjoying the fruits of your labor.
Well, That was packed with like so much amazingness. I'm going to break it down a little bit because I
Let's
feel
go.
like looking, like seeing you right now and hearing you tell your story, I literally feel like I'm looking in the mirror and telling my own, like it's my story too. And so for all of those that are listening, that might be a military spouse or a just, woman that has children or, somebody in the corporate space or whatever it might be. I feel like anybody who is very career driven, who really is passionate about turning their dreams into reality. It's so crazy because all of our stories always have overlapping pieces. And when you hear somebody else tell their story, that is truly what connects us all together. And that is where the real magic happens is we team up with like-minded individuals to be able to continue fulfilling those dreams and goals, even when it might feel impossible. And something that you mentioned about like just on the military spouse side of things, I mean, my story is very similar to yours. It's like, oh my gosh, here I am now living the military life, which, as we both know, is very rewarding and challenging. How am I going to be able to do what I love now, also living a life on the go or not knowing what's next? And so, just really being able to piece those puzzle pieces together, especially when we align with individuals who share that same passion, it's incredible, really, what is possible and really walking into our own power more than we've ever experienced before. Because as I mentioned before I met Lyndsey, which we'll get into how Lyndsey and I met a bit more because you touched on it a little bit, but we got to really talk about it because I think that that really is so powerful. And I hope that more women listening just take the time and reach out to somebody that they love what they're doing, somebody that maybe you feel like you can help, or you have this calling of like, maybe this is something I want to try, but I have no idea where to get started. Never be afraid to reach out to someone and just say, hey, I love what you're doing. How can I help? Or how can I learn from you? Right, Lyndsey? I mean, it's just like, it's so powerful. Like, it's really the simple things in life that help us move mountains. And I think that your story is the perfect example of that. I mean, you had a calling and you just jumped right in the car and you like got right into it right away and one thing continued to lead to another.
And I think that's the one of the more incredible parts of a journey in adulthood, specifically when you think about either career journeys or motherhood or things like that, because absolutely none of it is linear.
Yeah.
And I think whenever you're young or in college or like first starting out, you always are like up and to the right. Like everything is up and to the right. And you see that path, you see the steps, and it does look like a staircase, but in fact, it's a little there's some squirrely moments here and there. I mean, there are things that you don't see coming. There's my life completely changed when I became a mom.
Yeah.
And for the majority of my career, after I graduated college, I started working at a radio station. I worked in radio, which was one of the coolest jobs I've ever
Oh,
had in
I
my
bet.
life.
I
My
always
life.
loved radio.
Yeah. And so that was incredible. And then Yale and I got married and we went to DC for 9 years. And that was when like my purview of life opened up, and that's when I like really had to put my pedal to the metal.
Yep.
And that's when I started working on Capitol Hill, and I did that for a couple of years. And then I worked in nonprofit for a couple of years. And then I worked in corporate for a couple of years. And that's kind of that like up and to the right trajectory. I got
Yeah.
my master's during that time. Everything was linear at that point in time. And then there's motherhood,
Yes.
where you think it's going to go a certain way. You think you're going to be, for me, totally comfortable putting your child in daycare after 12 weeks and leaving them for 10 hours a day and picking them up. You think you're going to be okay with that, and some people are.
Yeah.
I personally was wholly and truthfully deeply like unwell about it,
Yeah.
unwell. And that kind of started the shift for me about reevaluating my priorities, reevaluating not how I should show up as a parent or should show up in corporate or should X, Y, and Z, but like really taking a deep reflection into like how, like what does Lyndsey want? What do
Yeah.
we want? And what does that look like? And is that different from how this looks or how I thought it would look? And the
Yeah.
answer was yes. And that was what like February 2020. You had just launched Spousely, and like just launched it in the sense of like it was out into the world.
Yes.
I'll never forget coming across it on LinkedIn where you were building, and you and I are both deeply connected in the military spouse space, whether it was either friendship, socially, or like having some like involvement from a
Just community
either
standpoint.
advocacy or
Yeah.
community building perspective. And I also innately know about you and I is that like if there's a problem, let's fix it. Like
Yeah.
problem solution, bingo,
Yep.
done. And I'll never forget the day that I saw that there was this beautiful long hair brunette who
Oh
had
my
launched
goodness.
this thing that like no one had done before, but everyone knew was needed and valuable. And
Yeah.
that was you in 2020. And so I think to touch on your point, how did we meet? And why is it important to just cheer someone on, whether you know them or not, but like you see them?
Yeah.
And that was our interaction because I think I messaged you and I was like, hey, or I connected with you on LinkedIn, like, hey, Monica, I love what you're doing. It's so
Yeah.
important. Your branding is great. Your mission is great. You're doing this so well. Like, let me tell my people about this. And that's kind of how it started.
Yes.
And then motherhood continued for me and was not incredibly fulfilled in my corporate job. I didn't feel a whole lot of alignment. And I knew that there might be something on the other side of that that allowed me to have more authority over my schedule, my job, my family, especially as Yale and I were planning to relocate from somewhere we had been for 9 years. And then what was it, June of 2020? You had put something out on social media. It was like, hey, we Spousely badly needs a digital marketing intern. I think you
Yes.
even said intern. And I was like,
I don't,
oh,
yeah.
Monica needs help. And Monica's in the beginning stages of this, and Monica really needs help. And I think that was when I was like, hey, I'm at a crossroads in my business or in my profession right now. I I am looking to maybe pursue entrepreneurship. Can I help you?
Yes.
And you kind of like be the gut check that I need to leave this stable job that I had worked very, very hard to position myself to be at and not throw it all the way, but like take a massive, massive risk.
Yes.
And that was kind of the start of our work together, right?
That was when it all started. And I think when I received that message, I just personally was like, that was the moment that I was like, oh my gosh, she sees me. She sees what I'm building. I felt so excited. There were so many feelings going on because I had just launched this right before the pandemic. Obviously, no idea what to expect of what
And you
was
were
coming.
still working too. You were working
Yes.
full time. This was very much a side hustle.
It was a side hustle for sure. And I, like you, have always wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I wanted to be able to build something that made a greater impact, not just to like build something to build it and it just be a business. It always had to be something that was going to help others. But you touched on something. You said you loved the branding, you loved how it looked. And I want to share that this is something I always talk about is that I almost feel like I spent so much time making it look perfect from the start that people didn't realize that I was at that stage, that I had just launched this business. So that is something I personally always talk about is perfection is not the key to success. You want people to be a part of your journey. You want them to go through all the different stages. So I always appreciated that everybody loved Spousely's look and branding and everything. But also sometimes I was like, maybe I made it look too well from the start that people didn't realize, like, hey, just by you reaching out, moved mountains for me at that stage in business. So I just wanted to share that because for anybody listening, I think oftentimes we look at what other people are doing and we say, oh my gosh, like, how are they doing it so good? Like, how are they here? How does it look so perfect? Or, all of the different things that we see on the outside. But when you really lift up the hood and you look inside, you see that it's complex. There's so much going on. So when Lyndsey reached out to me at that stage of my journey, it was a moment and a feeling that I will never forget. I told Lyndsey, I was like, you're never getting rid of me now. Like I just clinged on to her because she helped me really step into my own power. I was very used to having leadership and, everything like that from my corporate career that I worked really hard for. But in entrepreneurship, it was a whole different ballgame. I remember telling you, Lyndsey, I was like, why do people care who Monica Fullerton is? Like, why? Like, why do they care about my story? Why would they care about who I am. I'm just a person. I'm just, a mom that is trying to create something to fix a problem and to help others. I will never forget, she was like, your story matters. Your story is so impactful. And from that moment on, she helped me craft my story in a way that I also saw. I kind of came up for air of like, you almost look at yourself in a different way because it's like, wow, my story is really powerful. Like I never have thought about it like this. So that really is the Lyndsey magic when I talk about just who you are as a person, everything that you've built from that moment to everything leading up to it. You have also stepped into your own power. And when you've stepped into your own power, I feel like you've just exploded helping so many people
Can't
really.
get me off your timeline now.
Yeah.
I'm in
Like,
your algorithm.
so let's talk a little bit more about the power of your story. Tell me about why it's so powerful and how it has helped not only like grow in business, but just honestly personally too. Let's talk about the story.
I kind of feel like in today's like social media trendy culture, people are always kind of talking about like main character energy, and that's kind of what I'll lead with from that perspective. So often people look at a logo or a business and they say, okay, there's a product, there's a solution. I need that solution. But the moment that you can connect on an emotional level, either with that solution or the person behind the brand and humanize the brand, I genuinely personally believe that it is in the best interest of the brand, depending on the solution, to lean into that.
Yeah. Well,
And
that's actually a really great point because I always talk about there's so many products, there's so many services, but at the end of the day, what truly separates your product, your business is your story. It's such a powerful tool, not only to help you get to where you want to go, but also to get those connected to you. So that way you can grow with each other too on the journey.
And especially for entrepreneurship, like regardless of what it is that you're doing, even just uniting through your community of like minded entrepreneurs or peers or people who are generally doing the same thing. They're building their business, they're making sacrifices, they're being vulnerable, they're doing it scared, they're doing it through messy action. Like, there are playbooks for this, but none of this goes really according to that playbook unless you have really like found a
Yeah.
way. This is a tough journey, but I think whenever you reveal and people can see themselves reflected in your story makes an impact. And then it's about you and your product. It's
Yeah.
about how you are paving a way for other people to do the same. And I think generally speaking, people need hope. They
Yeah.
need inspiration. They need to feel empowered and motivated. And again, to see that there are people, and especially the people who are doing great work like you and I are. Yes, this is business, but this is so much more personal than that.
Yeah.
This is about, regardless of what it is that we're doing, it's about a community of people who need a solution.
Yeah.
And I think for us, specifically for the people that you and I work with, we're carrying a little bit of a different torch. We're
Yeah.
doing it by pulling chairs up at the table for other people. We're doing it by leading with integrity and focused on the long game. This is not a short burst where we're trying to get this finish line and then we're off into the sunset.
Yeah.
This is a lifelong impact and legacy, and your story evolves and shifts. And so we got to talk about the beginning of the story, but that journey and the life expectancy of that story is as long as you are on this path. That requires a certain level of vulnerability,
Yeah.
which is really hard, which is why you're on this podcast with me, because I would never be able to talk about this by myself. But being able to release a little bit of that vulnerability and look at what you can do for other people. And all of this is about providing value to people as well.
Yeah.
Your story is valuable. Your product is valuable. Your community is valuable. And the more that you show up, I say this all the time, visibility creates opportunity. And so it's not only about people hearing your story and then that being somewhat of a transactional form of information, people also come to recognize you and you become that go-to expert in your field. You become known for something, and then people come to you, and
Yeah.
then more aligned opportunities come to you. And then you're having people come to your corner and support you and champion you in a way that supports your mission and your business long term. So I
Yeah.
think it's just one, a really great way to connect with your audience. It's another great way to position your product or your service. And then three, speaking long term, looking long term, having people come to you to advance your mission for you and have that community surrounded by you and can
Yeah.
carry that torch alongside of you is so impactful.
And at all different times in the journey too. You talked about being vulnerable. It's challenging. It's really hard to be vulnerable. Lyndsey, I've known you through all of your different changes of life as well. I remember when you were leaving DC and you were pregnant with your second baby, and that's when right before that you were like, I'm ready to go all in. Like I'm so excited to like get my business at a place that I really want it to go. And then, all of that kind of started to unfold. You were getting ready to PCS. You needed to get settled in a whole new location. And you kind of had to put things on the side for a little bit because, you had to get childcare. You had to figure everything out now, navigating a new location, shifting just schedules and everything like that. So, there's so many different seasons of life, and sometimes we get really excited when we think that everything is going to go as planned, but then life happens and you have to
Mm-hmm.
pivot and you make changes along the way. But really sharing that story of how you were here to where you're at now and how you've been able to incorporate everything into that ongoing journey is very powerful. And I feel like I said it earlier, all of our stories can be very similar also in so many different ways. So just being able to align everything. And I would love for you to share a little bit more about that transition in your life and how did it feel? Like I feel like you really like went kind of on many ups and downs, but now where you're at, it's like it's very powerful. So like can you talk about a little bit of that dip and like how that also fueled your fire to like the climb that you're on now?
Yeah, I think that's one of the more challenging parts about that non-linear path to where we are versus where we're going, because again, it always feels like it's just up and to the right. And being ambitious individuals and people who really have a desire to be successful, a desire to make an impact for their family and grow their wealth and to again create a pathway for their family to have the life that you want them to have and that they deserve and that you have worked so hard to achieve. That non-linear path where it kind of takes a little spiral over here or it like dips down, like those are really challenging times because rewind 5 years ago, you would have never really thought that would have happened, and
Yeah.
it does. I personally try to take everything and balance it. And all of this is about seasons, right? Like
Yep.
seasons, chapters, and pivoting. I think pivoting is really important, and also trusting your gut.
Yeah.
Trusting your gut
Always go with your gut.
and being able to like take a step back before you burn yourself out, before you become a version of yourself that you are not super proud of. Like that takes a lot of reflection, a lot of
Yeah.
reflection. And what Monica is referring to is whenever I gave notice at my corporate job in, oh gosh, December of 2020, Monica and I had been working together for 6 months.
Yep.
And I knew that our family was going to be relocating from DC somewhere. It could have been globally, it could have been stateside. I didn't know. So I knew that I wanted to package up my business in a way that I could take it with me somewhere, somehow, but also be the mom that I wanted and needed to be for my kids on my terms,
Yep.
beyond a maternity leave, beyond a part-time employment agreement with a corporate employer. Like I wanted to carve my own path. And maybe that's like, I don't know, a control issue.
No.
But that's when I decided to, at 5 weeks pregnant, give my notice to my corporate job. I was starting my business, I was building the brand. I had a 2.5 year old, and we were on the heels of PCS. We didn't know when, but we knew that it was coming.
Yep.
And like I had a roster full of clients. The incredible part of starting my business when I did is candidly because I had worked for Monica and we got to be successful together.
Yeah.
I had people in line. They like once I had an offer, they were ready to go. I was consulting, I had retainer clients. You and I were still working together at that point in
Yeah.
time. Like Business
We were
was
making a
full.
lot of magic happen for
We
sure.
were
Yeah.
magicians,
Yeah.
and doing so again on with a baby in the belly and a kid on my hip kind of thing
Yeah.
on the heels of a PCS.
But you know what I
And
feel like
I,
that gave you? Like just kind of an outsider
yeah,
knowing you and just kind of watching your journey. I feel like it gave you the clarity that you needed. I felt like I was really sad for a little bit because, you were just in the total hustle of life and like transition. And like, I love powerful Lyndsey. Like when Lyndsey is like on and working her butt off, like I mean there is like so much magic happening all around. And obviously in my situation, it's a huge community, so it's not my story, it's our story. And Lyndsey
mm-hmm.
just does it in a way that like for me it was such a comfort. Like I selfishly, like when Lyndsey was going through many different things, I'm selfishly like, Lyndsey, I need you. I talk all the time.
Oh yeah.
And anybody listening, anybody that has had the honor of working with Lyndsey, I'm sure you can relate to that feeling. It's like Lyndsey becomes your business bestie. But what I saw during that transition of Lyndsey was she became so clear on the balance, yet the growth that she wanted, that it was like beautiful. I don't even know like what word to describe it, but I feel like as women, especially as moms, it's like it's really hard to get to that place where you're like, what does balance, quote, air mark, what does that actually look like? Because there really is no balance. I mean, it's how we decide to use the time in our day. And I guess that can boil back down to balance, but really at the end of the day, we have an X amount of time. How are we going to use that time? And what do we want the outcome to look like? And I just want to say, like, Lyndsey, you've done such a great job of taking the time that you needed to focus on getting to the place where now you've just been flying. Like, you are soaring, you are helping other people soar. Like, you are really working the Lyndsey magic more than ever in a way that works for you and what you were wanting in terms of your growth and your business as well as your personal life. So it's just
Well,
very inspiring.
thanks, friend. People call it harmony, and sometimes I call it harmony, but that sounds like a symphony and this like this really relaxing thing. And like, I think it's anything but harmony sometimes, which is kind of hard to say. Whenever you are balancing in the season of knowing that you're being pulled, and not even that you're being pulled, like it was almost like treading water, and your face, for me it was my face was above water. I'm like, okay, something's got to get where I'm about to go under.
Yeah.
And for me that was taking a step back in business. It was getting settled in our home. It was being there for my 7-month-old and my 3-year-old, and trying to figure out pediatricians and
Yep.
schools and sitters and literally
New
everything else as
earaches,
my
more earaches,
oh my
sickness, all the things.
sicknesses. Gosh. And that was also during a time where my husband's transition to this assignment did not go as planned. And that's
Yeah.
not something I've really talked about and nor will. But all that to say, like, things were not going to plan. And I didn't have the bandwidth to, like, not even grow, but to, like, to do more than what I was currently doing. So I didn't renew contracts. I reduced my consulting, and I had to put the brakes on some things a bit. And
Yeah.
for people like you and me, that's
Oh,
hard.
it's so hard. That's why I give you mad props because it's something I wanted to mention because for those that are listening that know you and they see you out there always working your magic, I think oftentimes we don't really get to see this side of one another. It really, as you said, you become more human and you tie everything that you love into the heart of everything that you do. So,
Well, and we're in a digital climate and online entrepreneurship where some people have a marketing strategy of flashing their revenue.
yeah.
Or look how I 5x'd my revenue,
Yeah.
and you can do it too in one week.
We know we're
And
not,
so,
both of us don't really operate out of that place. We are more like, hey, friend, how can I help? Let me figure out what does that look like? Is it something that I can even help with? If not, let me point you to somebody that we know can help you in that specific area. And not like, give me, give me, give me. This is like all a transactional thing because we both like cringe like at that. So,
yes, yes. And so, for someone who might be receiving that type of message from the people that they do admire and follow, like when you're in that season of having reduced your bandwidth, you are in the thick of, like, Monica, I've been on so many calls with you where I'm like, oh, I'm changing a diaper. You
Yeah.
hear my kids screaming, like we're throwing goldfish in the car. In that season where you have stepped back into being what your kids and your family needs at that moment, which meant sacrificing something that was dearly important to you, and maybe that was your job or your profession or your business.
Yeah.
That's hard, especially when you're met with what you see online, and being able to keep that mindset is really tough. And I think it's important to say, like, along with that up and to the right career journey where you think that's going to happen, you also have the assumption that your revenue is also going to go up and to the
Yeah.
right. And then you get into entrepreneurship and you have expenses, you have outsourcing, contracting, and delegation,
Yeah.
you have taxes.
Yep.
Heavens, we have taxes. So
Lots of things.
I think it's important to say that, like, your revenue does not dictate your value. Your profit
Correct.
doesn't dictate your value. I have learned more in the 5 years of being an entrepreneur than I did in the 10 years of corporate life or in traditional employment.
Yes.
And I think that in itself is an incredible win and a benefit.
Yes.
So in that season, I reduced. I didn't have a website, you guys, until August of 2024. And I had been in business for 4 years, and I'm a marketing professional. Like, that's a no-no. We shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
I didn't have a public social media profile. So what Monica is articulating is it went from the beginning of entrepreneurship, going and doing and success and clients and pipeline and revenue and all of this, and then family, and
Hmm.
then moving and transitioning. But, like, I think I've told you before, I felt like a racehorse
Yeah.
in a stall, like ready to go. So when my kids, I made the decision that whenever both of my kids were in school, part time or full time, that's when I would lean in. And so 8 months ago, that's when we leaned in. And again, now we have a podcast, and now we have a website, and now we have public social media and all of
And
these
who
other
loves to
things.
push
And
you over the edge to do it really fast?
Monica
But you
comes
do
with
it
her
for me too.
sweet.
That's the best part. That's why everybody needs a business bestie is to have that accountability buddy because we all know that life happens and there's so much that goes into it. And you've done such a beautiful job with like pulling it all together, being able to show all of your different passions as well as being there for your family when they need you most. And I absolutely love that about you. I love that you're always just very curated in a way that it's like I don't even know how to explain it. If anybody listening like gets the opportunity to work with Lyndsey, or maybe you've worked with Lyndsey already, like I don't even know. We'll have to like share in the comments. Like, what is the word that comes to mind about Lyndsey Akers? For me, it's like I know this sounds like so tacky, but like I feel like home. Like I home comes to mind. Like you just make me feel like home. Like I just when I talk to you, when I work with you, when I am doing like life with you and all different things, it's like it feels like home. I feel like I am at a place where I know I can turn to somebody that is going to help guide me because as you grow, like, everybody has heard the saying like more money, more problems, more
More
growth,
money, more problems.
problems. Like we always are constantly chasing to get to some weird finish line that doesn't actually exist. Like if you think about it, there really is no finish line. It's about the actual journey. It's about the pivots. It's about the challenges. It's about learning from our mistakes. That really is the part that we have to sit back sometimes and come up for air and be like, wow, this is incredible. Everything has led me to where I am at today. Everything has continued to teach me new things that allows me to grow into new areas. So there's just so much power in the actual journey. So, Lyndsey, as we kind of come to a close, I would love to know can you share a few of your favorite customer success stories with me? I know we've talked about, my journey and Spousely a lot. Like, I want to hear more about all the others that you're helping too, because I know there are so many amazing people out there that you've helped.
Yeah. And that's my favorite thing, right? And I feel like that feeling of being home for someone is so mutual because I feel that within you. But that's also the type of culture and community that we cultivate with our clients and our consumers and our partners and things like that. And so on social media last week, I shared the day that I got to call you and say, Monica, you just landed in Success Magazine. And I know that was such a defining moment for you. It was one for me. It was one for Spousely. Like, it was such a turning point. And
Yeah.
I love being able to provide those connections for people who, again, are doing meaningful work, moving the needle in their business and doing it to make an impact. Just the other day, I had a client call me and say, and she was in one of my group coaching programs. She said, Lyndsey, I just got quoted in Real Simple.
Wow.
And her business was backlinked. She had a quote as a subject matter expert, and the readership of that website is 151 million people annually.
Wow. That's amazing.
Annually. She
Wow.
was quoted with someone else in her industry who is an award-winning stylist.
Wow.
And so there are moments where people who did not think this was possible for them, or maybe they didn't feel worthy
Yeah.
of this, they see that this is not only attainable, but it is meaningful and it is allowing their business not only to grow, but their legacy
Yes.
to come to fruition. And so having Laura featured in Real Simple, who also was on the cover of a magazine, who also has had all of these opportunities, she also just reached a financial milestone in her business where she has doubled the revenue that she made in
Wow.
2024 by April of 2025.
Oh my gosh, that gave me chills. That's incredible.
For anyone that's meaningful, but for small businesses, and she's a military spouse, like, you know, that that is making a difference for her business
Absolutely.
and for her family.
Yes.
And I think the other, like, even just to summarize some of the opportunities that I have been able to connect my clients with and kind of be their voice for them. You know, we can talk about national media, we can talk about TV, we can talk about the big shiny things that people seek out.
Yeah.
But there are the even more like niche, engaged, dialed down opportunities that can actually move the needle equally as far as being quoted in CNBC or Forbes or Success Magazine, simply because that is where your target audience is. I think
Yeah.
we have to think about not only where we're positioning ourselves, but who's on the other side of that. We
Yeah.
need to think about the ROI of our time. We need to think about connecting with the people that, one, we are desiring to connect with and who can move our business forward, but again, who can carry that torch alongside of us and be incredible ambassadors for our business and for our story.
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had the privilege of again helping my clients win awards, get on stages, be featured on the cover of magazines, land incredible media features. But at the end of the day, we are making sure that their business continues to grow, continues to move forward in order for them to build the life and legacy that they cherish.
Oh, I love that. That was like straight to my heart and to my core.
Yes. But I know
I
you believe it
love
too.
that, Lyndsey. Preach on it all day just because I feel like I need like a Lyndsey app. I don't know about you guys. I want to wake up in the morning and it's just like Lyndsey tells me some motivation or something like that just because I love it and I
Well,
couldn't
you know, they're investing in AI versions of themselves now.
oh,
I'm not ready for an AI Lindsay, but I'm ready for a
yeah.
Monica one.
I like hearing it from other people, to be honest, because I mean, we can tell ourselves it all day, but like just the validation of something coming from somebody else is a very powerful like push that I think like really helps us all just keep moving forward. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Lyndsey, I mean, thank you for everything that you're doing. So excited about just everything that's ahead, all of the new accelerators and things like that that you're putting together and the coaching that you're doing. I really hope everybody listening gets the opportunity to at least work with you in some shape or form, even if it's just to have a conversation with you and get that Lyndsey magic over through your screen or in person. But you've always got a business bestie in me. So,
Oh, forever, forever. I think you just have made the hashtag Lindsay Magic
yes, Lyndsey magic.
something that's
I love
going to
that.
come to
Yeah,
fruition.
let's roll with that. And everybody can share their story of just how Lyndsey has made some magic happen in their journey because, like I said, it is about the journey. So never forget that piece of it.
Dang, so grateful for you, friend. The what a lot of people probably don't know is that we live 90 minutes from each other now, and we rarely get to see each other. So we are
Yeah.
already scheming about when we can break away from our laptops and
Yes.
our home offices and go down to 30A and have a girls' day.
Yes, I cannot wait for that. And it really goes to show that even when you are closer to one another, that oftentimes it is still challenging because of all of life's moving pieces, but that's okay.
Baseball,
We're gonna make it happen. I
travel.
know, all the kid life and all the business stuff, but at the end of the day, we know we can just pick up the phone and chat with one another, hop on our, screen and talk to each other. But either way, remember the power is in helping one another. And Lyndsey, just want to say thank you for all that you are doing. We love you.
Stop it. You know, like again, we strapped on our seatbelts on that roller coaster 5 years ago, right beside each other, and I think it's an incredible testimony to not only our business partnerships, but our friendships that we're here 5 years later, and
Yeah.
it's even better.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling there are going to be more chapters to this story as well.
There's going to be lots. We're going to make it happen, friend. That's for sure.
Alrighty, love. Okay, so tune in next time, you guys, because Monica is going to share her story about how she built Spousely, what she's doing now, and where she's headed.
Woo! See you guys soon.